Alrighty, hello everyone, and welcome to SEO's May webinar on living and learning in Memphis, Tennessee. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you all are staying safe and healthy. My name is Avery Cunningham. I am a Student Services and Admissions Officer here at SCO. I'm one of the admissions team members who will be answering your admissions questions and participating in the admissions process with you as you go along your application journey. Before we get started, I ask that we all use proper Zoom etiquette by keeping microphones muted unless speaking, limiting background noise, and respecting all of this webinar's attendees and facilitators. We will have time for questions towards the end of the webinar, but in the meantime, if you do have any questions or concerns that need immediate attention, please use the chat feature to communicate with us. It should be at the bottom of your screen or to the right of your screen, and there's also a Q&A feature that you can use as well if you need to communicate with us immediately. So today we'll be discussing student life in our hometown, the Mojo City, Memphis, Tennessee. From the neighborhood students live in to the myriad ways they spend their free time, this webinar will be a great way to learn more about our incredible city, most especially if you have never been able to visit Memphis before, or if you just want to learn more information about what student life is like here. Please note this webinar is being recorded and will be free and available to view starting later this week on our website. Alrighty, so we'll go ahead and jump on in. So to give a little bit of background, myself, I grew up in Jackson, Tennessee, which is a really small town about an hour or so outside of Memphis. And I lived in Jackson for a majority of my life. Then I spent a lot of time living in Chicago, Illinois, and I've been in Memphis for about 6 or 7 years now. And I can definitely say that Memphis is the best of both worlds when you're comparing, really small southern towns and large kind of coastal metropolis centers. It has all of the amenities you'd expect of a large city, from incredible culture, vibrant history, really active social scene, food scene, music scene, tons of free events that we'll get into a little bit later, many ways to spend your time with little to no cost that range from different clubs and organizations to ways you can get involved in helping the community, all things that you would look for and hope for in a really large city, combined with some of the slower pace of life of a small town. This is an area that I think is really wonderful for postgrad and graduate students and professional students, where when you want to take a step back and really focus on studying, focus on your academics, focus on yourself and your own personal betterment, you have the free time to do that. You're not in, the middle of a massive city that's always moving or always pulsing. But when you are ready to kind of step outside and enjoy the city and enjoy the community, you have tons of opportunities to do that. Also, the cost of living is relatively low, so you can actually afford to do all of these wonderful things that are available to you that we'll talk about a little bit later. We do not have dorms at SCO on our campus with only professional school level students. There has never been a very strong demand for dorms. We did ask students a few years ago if they'd rather have a larger clinic or dorms, and they voted almost unanimously for the larger clinic, which is why we have the I Center now. But that doesn't mean we don't prioritize housing. Just because we don't provide housing on campus does not mean we just let our students loose into Memphis and expect them to figure out housing by themselves. So in this presentation, you're going to hear a lot about the different neighborhoods that students live in, the communities they live in, the type of housing that's available, just to give you an idea of what your personal living situation might look like, or at least the options you'll have if you decide to attend SCO and live in Memphis. Memphis offers a wide variety when it comes to housing options. We have really downtown, vibrant urban centers, and we also have really quiet and suburban communities, really eclectic neighborhoods, and then cities that are outside of Memphis itself that students find really popular because of the cost of living, really the familial atmosphere. So it really is finding out what is the best place for you. It's difficult for us here at SCO, especially in the admissions department, people who have lived in the city for years and years and years, most of their lives, to say, what is the best area of Memphis? The best area of Memphis is the best area for you. So hopefully we'll be able to get into some of that a little bit later as we go forward. Alrighty, so on the screen before you, you should be seeing a map of our neighborhoods in the Memphis community. This map is pretty old, but it still holds true. These kind of delineations are pretty common here in Memphis. It's kind of how we discuss our city and how we break it up and how we'll be referring to different neighborhoods as we go forward in the presentation. So Memphis, we are in the yellow area, kind of on that interstate line between downtown and midtown, an area called the Medical District. Why is it called the Medical District? Because it is surrounded by hospitals. Le Bonheur is in this area, St. Jude is in this area, the Med is in this area, medical schools are in this area, the Baptist College is a medical school, but also the University of Tennessee Health Science Center is just right down the street. So we're really surrounded by fellow institutions, and that can be really wonderful for our students because that allows them to interact with medical professionals outside of optometry and really, network and grow their understanding of the different medical practices and how they all can work together within optometry. So 70 to 80% of our students live in the Mud Island downtown midtown area. So again, that's going to be pretty much the whole of the yellow area. And when I talk about Mud Island, I'm talking about you should be able to see kind of a little peninsula that goes off of downtown Memphis into the Mississippi River. We do call it Mud Island, even though it's a peninsula. That was a branding choice by the city of Memphis, and we think Mud Island sounds a little bit better anyway. So yes, so pretty much that entire area is our far and away most popular area for our students to live in here in Memphis. And there are multiple reasons for that we'll talk about in more detail later, from the lively neighborhoods, the center of culture, the amount of activities, and also a relatively short commute. If you're living in Mud Island downtown or midtown, then no matter which of those three neighborhoods you're living in, your commute to Memphis is going to average about, your commute to SCO is going to average about 10 minutes, even though you'll talk to some students who may say they can push it to 8 if they're in a real hurry, but no matter what, it's going to be a pretty convenient commute for you, as opposed to some other areas that are going to be a lot more distant from SCO's campus, but that comes with its own benefits as well. One of those neighborhoods are East Memphis. East Memphis is where I live currently, even though I lived in downtown for most of my time here in Memphis thus far. East Memphis is really kind of the old suburbia of Memphis. It's much more family centered, more homes, freestanding houses as opposed to apartment complexes, maybe not as culturally vibrant, but really kind of a comfortable type of neighborhood, lots of trees, lots of green spaces. If you're looking for a more family-centered atmosphere, but you're not ready to move into like the far distant suburbs, then East Memphis can be a great option for you. Again, the biggest downside is going to be the commute when living in East Memphis. It will be 10 minutes in Midtown. It'll be 30 minutes if you're living in East Memphis. But that can, again, offer its own benefits depending on the type of lifestyle you're looking for, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And then there are the suburbs of Cordova, Germantown, which are kind of the pink and purple areas, and then the entirely different states. Mississippi, which is along the bottom, and then Arkansas, which is way, way, way on the left side of the image. You can barely see it. Now the suburbs again are going to be a longer commute, but they're very family centered. If you really thrive off of big box stores like your IKEAs and you like a nice variety of grocery stores or something like that, the distant suburbs are going to kind of offer the best experience when that is a priority for you. Students who do have families or are hoping to start families, and students who are hoping to own homes, really do gravitate towards Cordova and Germantown and really enjoy living in those communities. I will say Cordova and Germantown may not be the best locations if you're living kind of on your own, if you don't have a family, or you're not hoping to build a family while you're here in Memphis attending SCO. Cordova and Germantown are very distant, and that's going to put you a good ways away from the rest of your students, the rest of your peers, especially in your class. So at least for the first year, I feel like it's better to live a bit closer to everyone, just so you can kind of build community and make friends a little bit easier. But again, it's a matter of lifestyle. If Cordova and Germantown offer the best living situation for you, I certainly recommend them. They're really beautiful communities. Also, you may be wondering how whole other states like Mississippi and Arkansas could be popular neighborhoods for students to live in. Well, again, if you're a family center type of individual and you're hoping to own a home or you're hoping to take advantage of really great school districts, those other states can offer a little bit lower cost of living, lower even than what we're already experiencing here in Memphis. And also, the commute is not that much. If you're not someone who's just used to living in kind of a tri-state area where different states are very closely connected, you may think that, it must take hours and hours to drive from Mississippi to Memphis. But in truth, the commute from North Mississippi to SCO's campus is shorter than the commute from Cordova to SCO's campus. We have one student who's living out in Mississippi right now, and he comes from the Midwest. And he said when he moved to Memphis, he wanted to be reminded of home, and home for him meant cows. So he wanted to be close to someplace that had a lot of cows, and that's North Mississippi almost to a T. So we really encourage everyone when you're looking at these different neighborhoods, these different communities, different aspects of Memphis, to think broadly, think about really what is the best environment for you, because you do truly have some wonderful options. And again, we'll have questions towards the end, but if anyone has any sudden questions while we're talking, please feel free to use the chat feature or the Q&A feature at any time, and we'll get to it. All right, so talking a little bit more in detail about Mud Island. Again, Mud Island is that kind of peninsula that you saw kind of sticking out from downtown Memphis into the Mississippi River. Mud Island is a very residential neighborhood in the midst of kind of the urban excitement of downtown Memphis. There are tons of residential homes on Mud Island, especially some really beautiful, older, almost mansions, really. Justin Timberlake, who's from the Memphis area, had or has a home on Mud Island and for a long time. So that's kind of just an example of the type of individuals you'll find on Mud Island. A lot of Grizzlies players have homes on Mud Island, but of course, a lot of our students as well, mainly because Mud Island probably has the largest collection of newer apartment buildings anywhere in Memphis. When I talk to students about it, I kind of explain it as a kind of a pseudo dorm environment, because you are really surrounded by the rest of your peers, as in those who are in your class with you, but also those who are in classes above you and classes below you. You're rooming with SEO students. Your neighbor may be an SEO student. And then if you walk to the apartment building across the street, there will be, tons of SEO students in there as well. So it can kind of simulate a dorm environment, which can be really helpful for that first year transition, especially. There's also a really large population of professional students in general on Mud Island. Mud Island is pretty close to the law school here in Memphis. And I mentioned earlier the Baptist College of Health Sciences and the University of Tennessee College of Health Sciences are close to SCO. So you'll find a lot of those medical students living on Mud Island as well. So it's a really great opportunity to network with students from all over the globe, really. It's very, very popular with SEO students. About 60 to 70% of our students, at least for their first year, live on Mud Island, and a really strong majority, maybe half, stay on Mud Island the entire time they live in Memphis. And we don't know if that's a chicken or the egg. We don't know if students gravitate towards Mud Island because students already live there, or if there's something about Mud Island organically that draws students there. But year over year, it continues to be really the most popular place for our students, and a place that our students continue to recommend. There are a lot of amenities on Mud Island because the apartments are newer, as opposed to the apartments you might find in Midtown, which may be a little bit older, a little bit more cramped because there's not a lot of room. With the apartments on Mud Island, you're going to have pools, gyms, home theaters, tennis courts, basketball courts, all of these different ways that you can enjoy your time within the apartment itself, facilities that you're already kind of paying for and can access at any time. I know during the summer, during breaks, students love to have kind of a roving pool party on Mud Island where they'll just go from apartment to apartment and have different pool parties and barbecues during the weekends or long holidays. So it can be a really fun place to live and a wonderful kind of introduction to Memphis. And because it's so close to downtown, you still have a lot of access to all of those downtown facilities and amenities like the FedEx Forum, where a lot of our sports are taking place, the music scene down there, the restaurant scene down there. But when you are ready to kind of take a step back and go home and calm down, Mud Island is a really quiet area. And even though you can kind of see downtown from your window, you're not going to hear downtown from your window, if you understand me. So yes, highly recommended. And it's a great place to start on our journey into Memphis. So talking about downtown Memphis, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, I lived downtown for a very, very long time. And even though I don't live there anymore because I got a little bit older, a little bit less hip, and decided it was time for me to move out to the suburbs, I will always, always, always recommend downtown Memphis. I absolutely love this part of the city. It's really the beating heart of our culture, of our history, of so many aspects of our community. And while I understand that it may not be the most ideal living situation for a lot of students, I definitely recommend it if you're someone who's willing to, take advantage of a new experience and a new opportunity. So downtown is definitely going to be urban living. It's almost exclusively apartments. The houses that are available downtown are very, very expensive, even to rent. So we certainly don't always recommend them. And the apartments are going to range from newer facilities that were built within the last 5, 10 years or so to pre-war apartments that have original wood flooring and floor to ceiling windows and terrible, terrible insulation. So again, it depends on what type of atmosphere you most enjoy or most want to experience. Downtown is going to give you immediate access to almost everything that happens in the city. Our sporting events, our restaurants, our nightlife, live music, farmers markets. There were some, weekends during the summer where I would walk out of my door on a Saturday morning at 7 a.m. and I would have a full day and would not have to come home until 10 o'clock at night, and all because of things happening downtown. So if you are really drawn to that type of environment, if you like living in an urban center or you've never lived in an urban center before and want to experience it, I definitely would recommend downtown Memphis. And even if you don't choose to live in downtown, I always encourage people to spend a lot of time there. All right, so talking about Midtown, Midtown is going to be kind of on the other side of SCO. Downtown and Mud Island are going to be to the east of SCO to the west of SEO. I'm sorry. Downtown and Mud Island are going to be to the west of SEO, heading towards the river, while Midtown, we're going to start moving a little bit more eastern. You're going to find a variety of housing options in Midtown Memphis. It's traditionally been a very residential area, so there are a lot of freestanding homes, townhomes, things like that, but they are building more and more apartments in this area than before. So you'll have a few apartment options, and then some different kind of unique living opportunities in Midtown. Midtown is a very eclectic area of the city. So we have some students who will be living in guest houses because we have some really beautiful old manor style buildings and homes in Midtown. And we have one student I know who talks about how she lives in the guest house for this really wonderful family that has, a really massive guest house in their backyard. And in exchange, she kind of watches the home when they're gone, helps with the kids. And it's a really, really unique, but really wonderful kind of living arrangement. It's just an example of the kind of options that could be available for you in Midtown if you're looking for something pretty unique. Again, it's a very eclectic neighborhood, pretty much all mom and pop, locally owned here in Midtown. You're not going to find a lot of department stores. If any, you're not going to find a lot of fast food restaurants. Or big box stores. If you really enjoy getting to know your neighbors, if you like sitting on a front porch on a Friday night and talking to people as they walk by, then Midtown is definitely going to give you that experience. Midtown has two kind of entertainment centers, Overton Square and Cooper Young. Overton Square is going to be the one that's closest to SCO. And Overton Square is really kind of our theater district here in Memphis. Their ballet is located in Overton Square, plus I think three independent theater companies are located in Overton Square as well. Along with some of our more popular restaurants and nightlife venues. Cooper Young is another entertainment center, not so much in terms of like theaters in Cooper Young, but you do have some live entertainment, some shopping, lots of restaurants. So a lot of different ways to enjoy your time in Midtown, while it's still, pretty residential, pretty calm, and pretty community centered as well. So moving on into the suburbs, it's going to be a lot quieter, a lot more green space. You're going to be closer to some of our more popular hiking trails, our excuse me, are one of our largest parks, and in fact, one of the largest municipal parks in the entire United States, called Shelby Farms, is located out in the suburbs. So, if you like to be close to a lot of green space, opportunities to walk, to hike, to ride bikes, to ride horses, to run, the suburbs are going to give you some immediate access to those areas. Certainly suited for a family-friendly experience. The housing that you're going to find in the suburbs is going to be mostly homes, mostly freestanding homes to buy or to rent, along with some very, very large apartment complexes. And when I say large apartment complexes with their own car washes and doggy daycares, really kind of all-encompassing type of units, since they are so far removed from, the city center and amenities. The apartment complex you'll find out here are going to be a lot older, but they're also going to be pretty all-inclusive as well. All right, so that was a bit of an introduction, a little bit of an introduction to where students live while they're in Memphis. Now we're going to talk about what they do, all of the ways they enjoy their time in the city, from the culture to the food to the outdoor spaces, and everything in between. And I really do want to talk about how much I love the city because of its culture and its opportunities. There's truly so much to do here in the city. If you are looking for a community, if you're looking for a hobby, if you're looking for just a fun way to spend your time, there are tons of ways to really enjoy yourself here in Memphis. And it's really year round because we have pretty excellent weather. It's well, excellent for us. It's very hot during the summer, understandably, but it's pretty mild during the winter. So all year round, you can be outdoors, you can be going to festivals, you can be going to parks and zoos and music venues and sporting events. And really the fun just never stops in the city. We'll get into some of the details here in a minute. So Memphis festivals. Personally, I feel that a city without festivals is barely even a city, and Memphis covers every type of festival you can imagine. We're kind of in the heart of festival season right now. We just had Memphis in May, which was our big kind of music festival. It might be comparable to, like, say, Lollapalooza, where we have lots of really popular recording artists come in for about 3 days, and they do a big outdoor music festival in downtown Memphis. And then this weekend, we have the Memphis Italian Festival. We have a huge Italian presence here in the city, so their festival is pretty enjoyable. Great food, great people, great fun, and that's just started up today. And that, as you can see, are two different sides of a really big coin between, music festivals that bring in headliners like Missy Elliott and Ludacris and Benson Boone, to very local, very cultural Italian festivals. Both are hugely popular, and both are open and available to everyone in the community. If you like cultural festivals, if you are, very proud of your cultural heritage, or you like to experience different cultures, we have everything from Africa in April, which celebrates kind of the African diaspora here in Memphis, to Greek Fest, Philippine Fest, Italian Fest, as I mentioned, and those are going on pretty much throughout the entire year. Tons of food festivals. Memphis is definitely a foodie hotspot. We love our food here in Memphis, but not just, your Southern staples and your barbecue, even though we are the barbecue capital of the world. I know maybe Nashville and Kansas City and Chicago try to say that they're the barbecue capital of the world, but it's Memphis. We have our world champion barbecue festival here in the city, hot wing festivals, Oktoberfest, Pizza Fest. We even have, like a grilled cheese festival, which is incredibly popular. So if you enjoy food, especially enjoy trying new foods, and our Asian Night Market Food Festival has been pretty popular for the past couple of years. Again, all year long, there are tons of ways to experience the food scene here in Memphis. Music festivals, if you enjoy music, from blues to pop to gospel, all of those different genres really started in this city. So we really honor music in Memphis, and um, every day, really, every day, every hour, there's an opportunity to enjoy live music. And then different arts festivals. We are a bit of a center for the art scene in this part of the country. So we have tons of crafts festivals. We have major fine arts festivals as well, where you can enjoy local artists, but also artists that are coming in from really all over the world to share their work. All right, and tons of outdoors experiences as well. People may think because Memphis is, an urban city that there's no access to green space for the outdoors, and that is the farthest thing from the truth possible. Memphians love being outside. As soon as the weather gets a little bit nice, people start coming out of everywhere. I remember the first nice day after winter, suddenly I walk outside and neighbors who I haven't seen in 6 months are mowing their lawn and playing with their kids. And it's like that going downtown. People love to be outside here in Memphis. They love to enjoy, green spaces in the great outdoors. I mentioned Shelby Farms. It is, again, the largest municipal park in the entire country. It's extends over hundreds and hundreds of acres. You can walk there, you can ride bikes there, you can rent horses to ride, you can kayak, you can canoe, all types of ways to enjoy the outdoors there. And that's just, one of our local city parks. And also Shelby Farms is a really great way to see the diversity of the city of Memphis. You walk around Shelby Farms and you'll see every type of person, hear every type of language. A lot of cultural festivals happen in Shelby Farms as well, or cultural celebrations. We just had our Water Lantern Festival last weekend in Shelby Farms, just one of the most highly rated festivals in the entire country. So again, tons of ways to enjoy the city in kind of a wider type of scope in Shelby Farms, outside of just being in a beautiful green space. We also have a world-class zoo. It was recently ranked #2 in the country. Public parks, again, green spaces. If you like to hike, we have several different really well-maintained national, not state parks, but city parks that are in a more wilderness type of area. So hiking trails that are maintained by the city. And there are tons of those in the area that may be, at the most a 30-minute drive from SCO's campus. So again, tons of ways to enjoy the great outdoors. And we are a very, very dog-friendly city here in Memphis. We love dogs, we love animals really in general. But I myself have a dog who loves to hike and loves to be outside. So it's really exciting to have all these different ways to enjoy the outdoors with him. All right, and culture here in Memphis. When I'm talking about culture, I'm talking about everything, from sports to music to music venues and the performing arts. We have several major sports teams here in Memphis, Tennessee. Probably our most popular one is our NBA team, the Memphis Grizzlies. Go Grizz, grit and grind. We also have a professional league baseball team here called the Memphis Redbirds. Both of them are located in downtown Memphis. So if you're living in Mud Island or downtown or even Midtown, you're going to have really nice access to them. It's really exciting having a major NBA team in your hometown. When we make it to the playoffs, you'll see a lot of famous people suddenly start appearing around downtown Memphis. Usher was here for a while for the playoffs. Justin Timberlake, of course, because he owns a part of the team, and tons of other entertainers and celebrities will come to watch the NBA games here with the Grizzlies. So it's very, very exciting to have all of that opportunity to brush shoulders with famous people. Tons of music venues, tons and tons of music venues. The FedEx Forum is going to be our largest music venue in Memphis. That's where you're going to see our really major concerts, like Bruno Mars or, excuse me, Missy Elliott or Taylor Swift. That's where you're going to see our really, really popular artists who are going to be playing at the FedEx Forum. We also have tons of free opportunities to watch live music. The Overton Park Shell, which you can probably see on your screen in the presentation in the kind of right-hand side, is an outdoor music venue where once a week, all summer, you can see concerts for free. So that's a really great opportunity to still enjoy, some live music without having to pay a really major ticket price to see somebody at the FedEx Forum. And then performing arts are hugely popular here in Memphis. We have the Orpheum Theater located downtown, which is this beautiful, beautiful old venue that was built in its current location, its current form in the 1920s. And that's where you're going to see like our Nutcracker Ballet perform. That's where you're going to see the touring season for Broadway performances that come through there. Some of our music venues or music performers are going to be at the Orpheum as well. It's a really gorgeous old theater, and I highly recommend at least seeing one show there while you can. It can be, really comparable to a Broadway experience. We also have tons of local theaters: Theater Memphis, Playhouse on the Square, Hattie Lou Theater. We have 2 ballet companies. We have 3 orchestras and symphonies. Again, also 1 opera company, and then the Tennessee Shakespeare Company. So the Shakespeare Company for the state of Tennessee is located here in Memphis. So the performing arts is something that you enjoy experiencing, enjoying supporting. The Memphis is going to have tons and tons of options for you to participate in that community. And then talking about food in Memphis, again, I mentioned earlier that Memphis is a food city, it's a food scene, but it's not just limited to fried chicken and barbecue. Even though we love those aspects of our heritage as a deep Southern town and having all of these kind of staples of Southern cuisine, because Memphis is so culturally diverse and ethnically diverse, you're going to be experiencing food from all over the world. We have huge representation from the Asian diaspora, especially around SCO itself. Tons of excellent Vietnamese food and Korean food. Chinese food. We have really great representation here from Greece and Italy and parts of Eastern Europe. The African diaspora is also very well represented here. Food from South America is really popular here. We have probably one of the best taco truck scenes outside of maybe California. If there are any Californians here, I'm sorry, but I am going to go ahead and say that one of the best taco truck scenes of out of the entire country here in Memphis. So it's really, really a vibrant food culture. And also it's not very expensive. You're not going to have to spend, $50 a meal to enjoy, something really good and homemade and diverse. You may end up just paying $5 and still having a really wonderful food experience. I highly recommend, if you're able to ever stay in touch with any of our students here at SCO, ask them about their favorite places to eat. I'm sure everyone is going to have their own personal roster. And then talking a little bit about student life. Of course, the city of Memphis itself is a huge draw for students and offers tons of ways for students to spend their time here in the city. But if you want to start with, your community here at SCO, there are tons of more ways to stay involved. We have over 20 active student organizations that are related to pretty much every aspect of the optometric experience, from the optometric profession, such as the Low Vision Club, the Vision Therapy Club, the Contact Lens Club, to service organizations that take annual service trips, to social organizations that are responsible for, a lot of the social gatherings on our campus, to intramural sports. Tons and tons of ways for you to connect with other students here at SCO and get involved. And we have a pretty strong amount of campus events as well that are open to everyone, from the Eyeball, get it, Eyeball, we're very clever around here, the Eyeball, which is kind of our winter formal that's held every year, OptiFest, which is when industry leaders will come to campus and talk to students about different changes in the industry. That's also where a lot of our students can buy some really wonderful frames, eyeglass frames or sunglass frames for very low cost during OptiFest. Several service days. We have a talent show, an annual float trip during the fall where students will get together and take a inner tube float trip down one of the smaller rivers that are close to Memphis. So lots of ways students themselves are getting each other out into the city to enjoy Memphis as a group and as cohorts. And then finally, closing out on your screen, you're going to see some social media accounts that I always encourage students to follow if you're interested in learning more about the city of Memphis. Choose 901 is a great resource. They are really are representatives for attracting individuals to Memphis. They have a really wonderful presence online, and they share tons of positive things that are happening in the city. I Love Memphis blog keeps up a really detailed calendar of all the events happening in Memphis on any given day, any given weekend. So I highly recommend following them. And then the Downtown Memphis Commission is also wonderful at sharing news about not just downtown Memphis, but the city of Memphis in general. And then you can see our social media accounts there as well if you have not already followed us. Alrighty, so that closes out our quick overview of Memphis, all the things I personally love about the city, and all the things that our students have shared they love about living and learning in the city as well. So now we can go ahead and open it up to questions. Again, feel free to use the Q&A feature to ask any questions, and the chat feature as well. And then we'll just give a few minutes, and if anyone has any questions, feel free to share. Right, I see some people typing, so we'll just, oh, and there's one from the Q&A. Hi, okay, so I had one question asking what are my personal favorite places to eat. Oh boy. Okay, so I only pause because that changes year to year as more places are added. Oh my goodness, let's see. Okay, so we have a really interesting kind of Irish pub scene here in Memphis. And there's one pub that's pretty close to me. For so long I've just called it um, B and B. It's something in Barley. I've been going to that restaurant for a really long time, and it's a really wonderful pub scene. I'll take a minute to look it up, and I'll write it in the chat. But it's this really authentic Irish pub with excellent food, live music, a huge event space that I really enjoy going to. Let's see, there's a Vietnamese place close to SCO called the Crazy Noodle that has some of the best stir-fried ramen I think I've ever had in my life. Oh my goodness. The taco trucks here, again, are really excellent. A really wonderful brunch scene. We also have some really great steakhouses. So as you can probably hear, there are tons and tons of places that I really love to eat here in Memphis. And I highly recommend emailing me personally if you want a more detailed list. I'll have more time to do some research and really answer your question with more intentionality. But thank you so much. Let's see, another question. Are there any unique artsy or creative scenes in Memphis you'd recommend exploring? Let's see. I really love the visual artists here in Memphis. There are tons of really wonderful art galleries that are run by local artists. I talked about a little bit earlier the crafts fairs and the fine arts fairs. Those are really great ways to be kind of introduced to the art scene here, but I just recommend going into local galleries. Overton has some local galleries. Broad Avenue is kind of our new art district, for lack of a better word, here in Memphis. Tons of really great galleries down there. Again, they're fine artists, so you may not be able to, afford, right off the bat some of their art, but they're always really nice, wonderful people and excellent to connect with. The theater scene here in Memphis is really excellent too. If you can afford to spend, $15 on a ticket to see, a local Shakespeare production or a local production of Guys and Dolls, or Catch Me If You Can, or a black box theater show, some like Tennessee Williams play here. It's really wonderful to connect with that side of the Memphis community, and you'll see some really beautiful productions just going to the local theater scene. Let's see what else. Oh, and our museums, of course. We have several museums here in Memphis that usually do free days. Our largest art museum is going to be located in Overton Square. That's the Brooks Museum, even though they are moving to a brand new shiny building downtown soon. Beautiful, beautiful art collection there. We have a metal museum where it's all about kind of metalsmithing, really wonderful displays of different types of creativity. And with our metal museum, if you're interested in, metalsmithing or forging, you can sign up for classes there and learn how to make a sword. I had a friend who took an axe class there and learned how to make a really, really cool, intimidating medieval style axe. So it really depends on what your personal interests are. And if you want to email me again, when I can do some really, really in-depth research, I am a writer here in Memphis, so I have a lot of artistic friends in this community, so I'd love to share some more recommendations. Let's see. What about hands-on creative things to do, like group painting, sip and paints, or candle making? All of those things are an option here in the city. There are several different kind of craft stores that will do sip and paints. The Brooks Museum will do art classes about once a week, generally on the weekend. So if you're wanting to become a better visual artist, if you're interested in like oil painting or watercolors, I know the Brooks Museum will do a class about once a week there. You do have to kind of start at the beginning of the series and go to pretty much every class, but still a great opportunity. We do have several local candle makers who offer classes. Let's see, if you're interested in making jewelry, there are classes here for that as well. Different types of sewing classes. We have several knitting clubs here. So a lot of really great hands-on things to do. And most of them are going to be free. I know that the Brooks Museum, those art classes are not free. The candle making classes are most likely not going to be free, but a lot of other kind of just gatherings of artists are going to be free. And if you're just looking for some help and getting started with some hands-on crafts, then the community here is really open to being helpful and not demanding a cost for it. Let's see. Do you have any concerns about the safety in Memphis? Personally, I do not. I most certainly do not. I lived in Chicago, Illinois for about 4 or 5 years, which is probably one of the most dangerous cities in the country on average. And I feel so much safer in Memphis. I feel extraordinarily confident walking around downtown, going to different venues, going to different experiences. What I encourage students to do is to bring to Memphis the same kind of common sense approach that you would bring to any new place. If you are uncomfortable going somewhere, do not go there. If you are ever in an uncomfortable situation, exit from that situation. If you're worried about going someplace by yourself for the first time, take someone with you. Be aware of your surroundings. Lock your car door. Things that, again, I would advise anyone to take with them anywhere they travel in the United States, in the world, from LA to New York, to Chicago, again, to Boston, going overseas. Those are just the type of mindsets that I would encourage people to bring with them to a new place. But in terms of personal safety, I have never, ever felt unsafe in Memphis. And in fact, I feel, safer here than I do living in, other larger cities where you definitely have to be on guard all the time for your own protection. And I can definitely go into more detail about that if anyone has any follow-up questions. Let's see. Sorry, a lot of those came in. Besides SCO's housing virtual marketplace, are there other resources to look for additional housing options? Okay, so that which Diana's referring to with SCO's housing virtual marketplace, on our website, we have a virtual listing of different apartment complexes that are either recommended by students or recommended by us in the different neighborhoods in Memphis. If you just Google SCO virtual housing marketplace, it should come up. And that is a really great place to start if you're especially looking for apartments to live in. That's about maybe 5, 6 per neighborhood, if not more. That is probably the only resource that we have available to students who are prospective. Once you are accepted as a student here at SCO, then you are added to kind of a group network where we have different message boards where individuals will post houses for rent, will post rooms for rent, will post if they're looking for any roommates, things like that. So again, our housing virtual marketplace may be the easiest thing to access if you're not a student already here at SCO, but also we're incredibly open to helping. If you are personally wanting a more unique housing option or a different kind of living experience and you want some guidance, just reach out to us, any of us here and the SCO admissions team, and we'll be more than happy to help you and provide some additional guidance. Let's see, how walkable is Memphis, especially around the SCO area? Now, this I will say, Memphis is kind of your typical southern city in the sense that downtown, extraordinarily walkable. Everywhere else, not so much. I won't say that having a vehicle is a requirement because you can definitely still get around Memphis with ride sharing. There's also this city run program where you're able to rent a Vespa scooter. And I think all you have to do is pay a monthly cost to rent. And no, actually, all you have to do is pay for gas. The Vespa itself, I think, is provided free of charge. I'll have to follow up on that to be certain, but that's a very popular program that tons of people use to save costs on transportation, especially during the summer. But it can be difficult to get around Memphis proper, but like the wider community, without some kind of vehicle. Downtown is hugely walkable. When I lived downtown for about 5 or 6 years, I didn't have a vehicle. But again, I was privileged in that I worked downtown, I lived downtown, I shopped downtown, the people I knew lived downtown. So I was really close to all of the things that I enjoyed. So I didn't really need a vehicle. And when I did, I would just use a ride sharing app. But if you're traveling a lot, if you of course are commuting from school, from Mud Island, or pretty much any part of the community to SEO's campus, you will need a vehicle. I will say that there is an apartment complex that's become really popular. It's called the Bristol on Union. It's about I would say a 5-minute walk from campus. So some students have really enjoyed living there because it's so close to campus. But again, it can be a bit of isolating because not a lot of SEO students are living there. So it kind of depends on what your priorities are. All to say that a vehicle is highly recommended here in Memphis, or at the very least being able to room with someone who has a vehicle available and you can carpool. Let's see. Any recommendations of locations to live for those interested in a single apartment? Pretty much all of the neighborhoods that I shared earlier, you should be able to find a studio. Studios are probably going to be a bit more, how to say, available in downtown Memphis, just because some of those apartment buildings are going to be older and have more kind of loft style type of facilities. You should be able to find a pretty good 1 bedroom on Mud Island. The cost is going to be a little bit higher. The great thing about having roommates, I'm sure many of you know, is that you can split costs and you can afford kind of a higher quality of living. So it can be, I won't say, well, I was just thinking, I do know of a student who lives on their own in a pretty spacious 1 bedroom, but she is also splitting the cost with her parents. So she's having some help financially there. She's not paying for all of that on her own. But we can definitely do some research into different opportunities for, a single apartment opportunity. It might be a matter of finding like guest houses, rooms in guest houses, things like that. But again, we may not recommend starting off with a 1 bedroom just for the cost factor alone. But if you reach out to us personally, we'll be more than happy to help. And I think I already addressed this question. Do most students have a car, or is there public transit? There is public transit, but kind of in the vein of many, southern towns, it's not on par with, like, say, Chicago's public transit, that you can kind of set your life by the L train. So I do recommend having a car. I think a majority of our students do have a car of some sort, but if a car is not an option for you, there are a lot of other ways to really stitch together a low cost transportation kind of arrangement that doesn't always have to include public transit. All right, and then would you be able to elaborate on SEO's housing fair and how that works? Sure. So SEO's housing fair, we offer a housing fair every spring, and it is offered to admitted students, so students who would be part of the incoming first year class. And it is an opportunity for students to come back to campus with the main focus of learning more about housing options and meeting other first year students. So it's usually held on over 2 days, usually about a Friday and a Saturday. And the first day, the Friday, is all on campus, and it's where you hear from a panel of students about their living situation and their living arrangements. You participate in a vendor fair with I'd say about 12 to 15 different apartment vendors will come to campus to set up booths to talk about their different complexes and different options there. And also you'll participate in a lot of social activities where you'll get to meet other students. And for a lot of students, these social activities are a really great way to connect with future roommates or potential roommates. And just to grow closer as a cohort. And on the second day of the program, that Saturday, that is when you participate in apartment tours. And we set up some kind of pre-scheduled apartment tours with some of our more popular apartments with students, about 8 or 10 of them, where you can go around throughout the day and tour these different apartment complexes, or, set up apartment tours for yourself or, maybe not as popular complexes on that Saturday as well. So again, the housing fair is a really great opportunity for students to learn more about Memphis, learn more about each other, and spend some great time on campus. But it is only offered to those who are accepted, and that usually happens in the spring. So maybe the end of February, the beginning of April. Alrighty, and I think I had some other questions in the chat. Let's see. How hard would you say the transition from cold Michigan to hot Memphis is? And I apologize if you hear some panting. My Bernese mountain dog just walked in, and it's a bit warm, so he's breathing very heavily. But okay, so the transition from cold Michigan to hot Memphis. All right, so I made a transition from hot Tennessee to cold Chicago, and I would say, based on that experience of that kind of transition, I think the first summer in Memphis may be a bit of a shock for some people. The hottest I've ever experienced is about 100, a little bit over 100 in the direct sunlight. But it is a dry heat. It's not, super humid like other parts of the country. So I think it is definitely adaptable. I think it's easy to be comfortable. AC is very popular here. You're not going to be living in any apartments that do not have AC units. So again, it's going to be a bit of a shock, I think, for that first summer. But once you experience the fall and winter here, I think you're going to be very pleased that you can still go outside and live your life and not be attacked by the elements at all times. And I say that with a little bit of bitterness after living in Chicago, but it is a little bit of a shock. Any recommendations of locations to live for? Oh, sorry, I already addressed that question. Sword making sounds awesome. Yes, it was awesome. It was a wonderful experience. I love the Metal Museum. I recommend them to everyone who's able to visit the city. Alrighty, so I think that's just about all of the questions I'm seeing in the chat or in the Q&A. If you should have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to me. My email is on the screen right there. I and really anyone in SCO's admissions office would be more than happy to help with any questions you may have about living in the city. And that'll bring us to the end of our webinar. I know we've covered a lot of information tonight, but I do hope this has been of some assistance to you all as you start on your optometric journey. Our next webinar will be held in June, where a member of our student ambassador cohort will walk you through a virtual tour of SCO's campus and clinical facilities. If you have not done so already, I invite you to request more information by signing up for our inquiry form. You'll receive a personal advisor and a personal brochure with information relevant to your goals and experiences. Thank you all so much for joining us this evening and learning a little bit more about this city that we all love. And I hope to see you at the next webinar in June. But have a great rest of your week and take care.